Hi everyone. Today we are going to discuss URC 522 Article 1, which is on application of the URC on documentary collections. So this article gives us a basic overview on what situation can we apply this URC 522, during when do these rules become applicable and to whom they are applicable, and it also gives a basic understanding on the bank's obligation relating to URC when it comes to documentary collections. So all these are covered in the three subsections that is under Article 1. So let's understand each of them. Subsection A tells us the Uniform Rules for Collection 1995 revision ICC publication number 522 shall apply to all collections as defined in Article 2, where such rules are incorporated into the text of the collection instruction referred into Article 4, and they are binding on all parties thereto, unless otherwise expressly agreed or contrary to the provisions of a national, state or local law and or regulation which cannot be departed from. So this section A simply tells you in what situation URC will become applicable to a documentary collection. Now here they are clearly stating that URC is applicable to all collections. And this term collection is being defined in Article 2, which we'll have a look, of course, in our next video. But for now, understand URC will be applicable on all collection as long as these rules are incorporated into the text of collection instruction. So that's the catch there. When you're handling documentary collection, the banks will receive instructions on how to handle it through this document called collection instruction. Of course, a further detail and defining of this is occurring in Article 4. When we discuss that, you will get a further understanding. But for now, to get a brief look on what collection instruction is, I am trying to explain it to you. That collection instruction is like a document which carries instructions to the bank on how to act with relating to the supporting documents that they have sent. How it needs to be presented, to whom it needs to be presented, who is sending, what you need to do, all those are mentioned there. So in this collection instruction, you need to clearly state that this collection instruction is subject to URC 522. You have to clearly state that. Only in such a situation you could apply URC 522 to the context. That's what they mean here. The only exception that they have, or only exception that you could not abide by URC 522, is if the collection instruction expressly agrees that look here, we are not going to follow URC 522, or if the party's country has a rule or regulation which contradicts with the URC 522. So if these two situations are there, expressly agreed to the contrary, or provision of national, state or local law are contradicting. So only in these two situations, yes, you could expressly agree that we are not going to follow URC 522. If not, you must apply them as long as it is included in the text of the collection instruction. So this will also imply that your collection instruction should explicitly say whether you are going to follow URC 522 or not. Because if you are following it, you must state it. If you are not going to follow it also, it must be expressly agreed. So one way or another, whether you are going to follow it or not must be clearly mentioned in the collection instruction. And if it is mentioned as that on the collection instruction, that is applicable not only to the instruction specified but is binding on all the parties who are involved. Now, who are the parties who are involved when it comes to a documentary collection? Of course, we are going to talk about it in article number 3. So, there you will see who are the primary parties involved and an additional party who would be involved in URC documentary collections. Moving on to section B. Section B and C is talking about the basic obligation of a bank when it comes to URC. It clearly states that, look here, unlike what we saw in a letter of credit, here banks have no obligation to handle either a collection or any collection instruction or subsequent related instruction. The key term here is no obligation. It's up to the discretion of the bank whether they want to handle a collection instruction, or a subsequent related instruction. It's their call. But section C says, look here, if you are choosing not to handle for any reason, if the bank decides that, look here, we are not going to handle this collection or the collection instruction or any other subsequent instruction, you need to do one thing. What is the one thing? If you take a decision of not to handle it, you must communicate that advice to the party from whom you received the collection or the collection instruction. And they expect this communication to be done by either telecommunication, in case you are unable to do it through telecommunication, through any other expeditious means, as long as it's without any delay. So here article 1, to summarize, section A tells you on what situations URC is applicable to a collection or a collection instruction. When is it applicable? When it is incorporated in the collection instruction, then URC will become applicable to all collections and to the parties involved in that collection as well. If you are choosing not to abide by URC 522, then you must expressly state that on the collection instruction, or only other way that you could exclude from it is if there are any contradictory provision in your national, state or local law or regulation. Okay. So section B and C is giving you a brief look on the bank's obligation. They are telling you when it comes to URC, banks have no obligations to handle a collection instruction or any subsequent related instruction. But if they are choosing, let it can be for any reason, but if they are choosing not to handle the collection or collection instruction, the basic expectation is that they want the bank to communicate to the party from whom they got the collection or the collection instructions, not the person to whom they need to deliver the documents, the person who sent the documents to them, to inform them either by telecommunication or any other expeditious means, as long as the communication is done without delay. So I hope Article 1 discussion was helpful for you. We'll meet again in our Article 2 discussion of URC 522. Thank you so much for listening in. Subscribe to Learning Business for more videos.